when I talk to a lot of actors who haven't stepped into this position yet, they get nervous about and like, you know, you're out in the sweat. But it's just one of those things of like, you have to just do it. You have to get scared and get over it. Just have that conversation. You'll get better at the next one. And it's that idea of like, they're going to buy you before they buy what you're selling.
Like, this must be such a great feeling, but this panel is really just going to be about debating the merits of IPA. So, Jennifer, I
have some things to say.
Please share. Well, what a moving and delightful film, really. And it's inspired by a real road trip. So please, whose road trip? What happened? Give us the details.
Go ahead. I'm just kidding. It is my road trip.
I don't have a
car. Yes, this is really loud and nice. Thank you, SAG. I took this road trip right before my dad died, and but I did it by myself, and so I originally wrote the script where it was just me in a car by myself, which is really boring. So I decided to add this one to like cause some chaos and some fun, and yeah, so I fictionalized the family, and but I used the backdrop of my experiences on the road trip as the story.
Did you stop at as many breweries on the way up too?
So here was my plan. I got stopped in San Francisco, and then these people gave me some places that I should go up the coast. And I had worked at Moylan's Breweries, the first brewery that you see. And so I did know a lot of people in the brewery scene. And after I went to San Francisco, I basically made it. I wanted to get to Lost Coast because I knew someone at Lost Coast. And then after I had a night where I hung out there and then walked to my motel, I was like, this is a great map of where I should go. So I would look up breweries that I could walk to a hotel to afterwards. So I did. I chose breweries all the way up because one of the places I was told to go was Fort George Brewery because that's where they filmed Goonies and they have a truffle shuffle beer and you should go there. So yeah, I just found different breweries and chose to stay near them because I love the community and they're very inclusive and I knew I'd be safe. And it was like a great sort of cushion for a very sad time that I was going through. So I did. I went to a lot of those. And then on the way back, I went to even more. And a lot of them are in the movie. So,
and so I imagine then you all got to stop at these breweries too when you were shooting, when you were filming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were
on
so
the location
welcoming.
scout? Yes.
She told us that they were going to be the most welcoming, warm, down community, and she was right. They were incredible to work with. Anything we asked of them, they're like, sure, I'll be a in the background, just really down, just very, very up for the experiment.
Excited to be in a movie too.
Yeah.
And we we knew and now people do go to those breweries because of the film. So, we told them, they got very excited about it.
That's awesome. I love that you call this experiment. I mean, and really in talking to all of you backstage, like it's so nice to hear about like almost like a grassroots effort of this to come together. So I guess this question is really for Meredith and Michelle but anybody, please jump in and just tell us a little bit about the logistics of getting this together, the brass tacks, where the rubber meets the road, where the funding, the casting, like where did that begin? How did you begin?
Oh, where do I start? This is like a masterclass kind of question. I feel we often say that like every segment of the film has been a graduate level course in that thing because we're actors and we're like, let's make a movie. And Jen had this amazing script idea and continued to work on it. And then Michelle came on and made it great. And then it really started to take shape to be a real movie. I produced my first feature during the pandemic. So learned a lot of the producing things that I learned during the pandemic were kind of different than it is in sort of 5 years ago or even now moving forward. And then this budget level was maybe a quarter of that. So there were a lot of new challenges that developed. And then it's a road trip movie. So so many moving parts and pieces. Every day, essentially, we were in just about a new city and putting that all together from LA just so many logistical challenges. But it just takes a lot of forethought, of planning. And that's what it really means to be a producer, making lists and checking things off and just being patient and being persistent and, getting up and getting to that grind every day and having a team to do it with. I think that's a huge part of it.
What was the question? I feel like you're looking at me. Logistics, yes. Well, I think it was a very charmed production. I think anything at any point could have gone wrong. And sometimes it did, and it made it better, and sometimes it didn't. Oh, yes, about funding. So, yes, thank you. Can you tell I'm not June in real life? I'm me. So about funding, the initial funding, how that came together. Meredith and I had made a couple projects actually together, and they were successful. And I think through people seeing through social media and both of our friends and people that we worked with saw how they were successful. By the time we had a feature, they were ready to join us. And I just went to dinner with my friend who was smart and went into finance and not theater. And so she has money. And and I was just I had been talking about the script for a really long time. And I was like, yeah, I want to make it in May. And in no way, I was thinking maybe along the road I would ask her. And at the end of the dinner, she goes, how much do you need? I want to help you out. I think I can do it. And so she ended up giving us half to start. And but it got us on our way. And then she only gave us half because she said, I want you to find other investors so that other people invest in you, so that later down the road they will invest in you. And it was really smart because they have. So, but it took us doing a lot of work before, little things before that for people to believe in us, so that when we got the big thing, they really invested in us.
And I'll say quickly that it's one of those things about raising money when I feel like when I talk to a lot of actors who haven't stepped into this position yet, they get nervous about and like, you're already out in a sweat. But it's just one of those things of like, you have to just do it. You have to get scared and get over it. Just have that conversation. You'll get better at the next one. And it's that idea of like, they're going to buy you before they buy what you're selling. And it's just making that human connection and having the conversations and listening more than you talk, finding out why they would be interested in something like this. And knowing, it might not be them, but it might be who they know. It's all about, just putting the feelers out there in a fearless way. But because you're passionate about it, you're having this interesting conversation. And I can't tell you, I don't think I've had one person who's invested in either of my projects, like big enough projects where I had like private equity investors, ever read a script. They just want to hear it from me. I'll tell them the log line. That's about all. Because they're not filmmakers. They wouldn't know what to do with a script. They're like, oh, you say the word June and then you say, they don't know, So just that kind of thing, it's like, it's more about that human connection and relationships and long-term. I probably didn't think that when the first investor for my first movie came on, that they would then be there to invest in my second. And two of them are the same people. So, and I'm still talking to them and like, we'll see what's next. Think of it as it's just like our careers. It's a marathon, not a sprint kind of thing. Same thing in this.
Oh, and Michelle, so when did you get involved in this?
So I came on after that point, after the initial money. It was about half of what we needed for production was on. So it was February of 2022. And the producers were together and they had the DP already. And at that time, they actually had Cammie cast. With Elizabeth, with a different actress. And and I said, get her out of here. I'm just joking. I can talk about the casting process later. But but it was just the train. It was like, we're on a train, we're moving to the station, even though we don't have enough, we're gonna get there. And I think because it wouldn't work with every investor, but because the investor was someone who believed in Jennifer and believed in this team, it did work. She was willing to let us like get on the train. And so we scheduled the whole thing, budgeted the whole thing. And then we picked a date, like a drop dead date, that if we don't have the rest of the money, we're going to cut it down to, we called it Sonoma to Astoria. So it was basically the second act of the movie, the big road trip part, because that had been the most difficult to plan and schedule, and all the logistics were the most difficult for that part. So we're like, let's get through that because that's all set up.
I mean, that sounds a little bit terrifying.
Yes, it was terrifying. It makes me sweat now. I wake wake up, I tell them, I wake up in the middle, like, what could have gone wrong? Like, I can't believe that we did it.
But
like
also
that.
to know that you had enough just for half of what you had conceived.
I do not recommend
right?
it. Do not. You will have an ulcer because you have half of the movie in the can and $0 to make the rest. And it's real scary. Like nothing could ever happen. And that's a truth.
And we had a TV star that could have gotten a job any second and been on a show and not been able to do the other half.
And didn't. So
And lucky for us, but not for her career, she didn't.
That's also lucky for her career in the long run. So we shot it. We cut together a trailer based on what we had, which was nice because we had the most beautiful part of the movie in the can. So that was helpful. And then that really helped, I think, with investors who had been kind of like dragging their feet and like were interested, but like wanted to see. And then we were like, we're not going to shoot the second until we have the rest of the money. And then one day this decision was made by these producers to like, nope, the train's going, get on the train. We're going to like schedule because we need to do it before, someone's not available or like Liz shaves her head or, we have to do it. It's supposed to be like all in a few days time. So at the last minute, like the money came in and they threw it in the windows of the train as we were going into the station.
So how much downtime was there, or if you want to call it downtime, but how much time was there between when you had that first half in the can and then before the money came through and you were able to?
Yeah, we shot 3 weeks in May and then we shot 2 weeks in August. So we shot the road trip in an RV with 10 people.
Including Liz and I. So it's
including
really
cast.
8 people because we're incapacitated when we're
Yeah.
acting.
And then we had 15 we shot a week in LA and a week in Washington for the second phase.
Michelle said you wanted to talk about casting. So tell me about that process. And
So
what it looked like for your
one of
actors.
the things that I inherited was the director of photography, who was April Frame, who was amazing. And Jennifer Sorenson was obviously coming in as the lead. And then we had a wonderful actress who was cast as Cammie, who had been Jennifer had kind of written the role around her a little bit with her in mind. And then she, through work conflicts, had to drop out, which was, I think, definitely disappointing and felt like a setback. But for me, I was like, I don't want to say secretly excited because she would have been wonderful, but secretly excited because then I get to, it's like my imprint. I get to cast this really critical role. And so we had a casting director, Nicole Doro, and she had sent us, I think we made what I think was like a little bit of an error in our sides is we sent out dramatic sides because Cammie is so largely dramatic. So we sent out kind of very serious sides. And so the auditions we got were very serious and dramatic. And then we realized we weren't excited by anybody. It was because we hadn't sent out the right material to elicit the comedic spark that needs to be in Cammie. And so we asked for to go back into and really look at actresses with a strong comedy chops. And so she sent, Elizabeth was on that list. She sent, a list of people, and we definitely had some great contenders, but I had looked at every of the list that had come in. I had looked at everyone's reels and all the clips, and I'm very A student about it. So I definitely looked through everything. And Elizabeth had this one where she was missing a tooth, and she had one where she was doing river dance, and she had a huge wig on, and her physical comedy was so funny. She had so much just joy and control of her body. And then we brought her in with a callback with Jennifer, and then they just had this comedic spark together, and they had the same sort of sense of humor, and they really got each other, and they felt like sisters. And I think it was, for me, it was Elizabeth the whole time.
And as an actor who was watching this happen, it really is the producer, obviously, on this film, but as an actor first, I'm watching, I think I was on the Zoom, but just, camera off, just observing. They would improvise at the end of the audition. This is on the Zoom, so it's already a callback, so it's live. And Jen and Liz would just riff back and forth for, 10 seconds. And Liz was so game because Jen obviously was a decision maker in this, but was also, there at the end of the script reading with her. And Jen would throw something out and Liz would pick it up, and then they'd just have a few back and forths. And we all were like, oh, all right, they're on the same page. They get each other. And it really did make a big difference into seeing that relationship, and it could be sisters immediately. So little nugget for actors.
Yeah, and as an actor, the biggest thing I took away from casting is that, and Liz is a great actor, and there were other really great actors that were also up for Cammy, but it really was the chemistry that we had, and it was a great learning lesson of like, oh, you could be the best actor, and it's really not, because there were better actors.
I know.
And so
I
but
just
we cast
tolerate you the
Yeah,
best.
I know. You're the one that would sit in the back seat with me and not have water. No, we had water because we were a SAG set.
And water and a lot of chocolate covered blueberries.
A lot of chocolate.
We ate our weight in chocolate covered blueberries.
Yes, we
those Brookstone ones from
Costco.
Yeah, Brookshire.
I know those.
They're
Yes.
so good.
I
The
actually
RV was
left
full
you-
of them.
They actually paid me in those.
No, we're SAG.
She's kidding,
SAG.
SAG. She's
Yeah.
kidding.
Anyways, I actually left you blueberries like on your seat, like as your last
You
day.
didn't tell me, and they melted.
Anyways,
And I still ate them.
but all to say, it was this that why she ultimately got. There were great actors that came in, but we did have something that not everybody had.
Can I say one more thing about the casting
Please,
process? Just
yeah.
because I feel like this is what y'all want to hear. That I appreciated that I learned from the casting process when we saw people for some of the smaller roles who would give 2 takes and their takes would be very different. Even if it wasn't right, the second thing that they did, I'd be like, oh, they could take direction. They have an imagination and make choices. And it stood out to me as like, okay, they're a directable actor. Just a thing that helped me see how I'm perceived as an actor when I send those self-tapes out into the ether. And also sometimes I guess, I don't know if the casting director did this or the actor did this. I think it was the actor, but they would send like take 1, take 2, and they would attach their reel. And when we were watching, you just hit play and you see scene 1, you see scene 2, and then it just starts playing the reel. And if it's good, I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this. So that was another little like, I'm going to start doing that. I knew y'all would want to know that.
I have lots of questions about reels actually, but before I get to that, I would actually like to talk to our actors. Just that exchange there. I mean, I think we really see a sisterly quality, and if you have a sister, you're a sibling, you know how those dynamics can be. And watching the movie, it felt very relatable and it felt very real. Because this is a panel for your peers in SAG-AFTRA, tell me a little bit about the prep work that went into, prep work for scenes, how you developed that chemistry, how did you make it real? What was that like? Take us behind the scenes of that.
I mean, I think for me, it was of course prepping ahead of time with what I thought of the scene, my own instincts, and doing the work of script analysis and all of that good fun stuff that we learn in theater school, and then throwing it out the window once it was time to actually be in the environment with tactile things and Jen there to play off of, and just trying to stay as present as possible in what that was, because there was just so many things. The car was its own character. And the environment was so beautiful, and letting all of that just kind of percolate and work on me, at least in a way that maybe is a little less able to be worked out ahead of time, if that makes sense.
And I was really nervous. I had a breakdown with Meredith in the airport after the location scout, because I looked at her and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I everybody thinks I can do this, and I don't know if I can do this. So I had that breakdown. And then I talked to the woman actually who was going to play Cammy, because she had done this where she had written a role for herself and a feature. And I said, I'm worried that I don't know that I'm going to be bad. And she goes, it's actually the easiest job you'll ever do, because you've done all the work. Because, as the writer, you've done all that, I know everything about her. I know everything about me. I know everything about, and it was, I wouldn't say it was true. I feel like I did the least amount of prep for this because I had done it for 10 years, when it came time, I mean, I didn't know my lines very well.
Yeah, I will say she showed up not knowing her
I didn't.
lines.
and let me just, in my defense, if you write a script, do you know how many versions of that scene that you have written, and then to like say what you have said, what you've settled on? I literally was writing it right before, and then we go out. But let me tell you, I would correct other people on their lines because I could hear them coming out, and I was like, I know I didn't write it like that. So I would correct other people, and then I would not know mine. But in my defense, I'm in every frame of this movie, and so like I was memorizing that telephone call during the pillow smothering thing where they would like, we were doing that, right? And then they would, have to do a setup, and then Asia would be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just memorizing the phone call real quick. She's like, that phone call, like that whole page phone call. I was like, I'm just gonna memorize it real quick. And then I had to go and do it. And I think it actually helped me, if I'm really honest, like not knowing it as much, but also totally knowing it. I think it really helped. But yeah, it does when you write your own. Sorry, I have a cough drop in my mouth. When you write your own stuff, you kind of do all the stuff that you were doing, but organically.
Favorite scenes? Do you have any favorite scenes? I think Elizabeth does.
You're in it. I mean, I'm not going to say one you're not in. But my favorite scene to film actually was a scene that's not in the movie.
Wait, which one?
With John DeLuca. So there's a scene that's not in the movie where a male nurse comes in that's really good looking after the dad dies and says, hey, all this stuff in here has been stolen. Did you steal this? And I say yes, but then of course, because it's like the third man she's met in the movie, she thinks he's hitting on her because every other man she's met in the movie she's made out with. So of course she thinks he's hitting on her. And he said, oh, can I get you all some coffee? And then June says, oh, that's so nice that you're hitting on me, but I've changed and I'm not going to go sleep with you. And he's like, I'm not hitting on you. And it was really funny. Anyways, it's funnier than when I'm saying it right now, obviously. But the dad's dead the whole time. It's just really dark, funny scene. Anyways, it's really...
Yeah, the socks.
Yeah, the socks.
The socks was really funny.
It's a lot funnier when you see it, but it's not in the movie. Anyways, but it was like I was in that hospital for so long, and I needed that scene so bad because John DeLuca's so funny, and we just like riffed in that scene. He accidentally touched like the dead dad's toe, and then like grabbed onto it while he's talking to me, and it was so fun because I needed it so bad after like doing all the hard hospital stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think dancing with you outside of the car was really fun because, to your point, I love moving my body as much like a Muppet as possible. And Jen was also very game for moving Muppet-like, and doing several takes of that was one of the more joyful shoots of the movie. Yeah, it was very fun.
I'll give a few answers. So my favorite between these two was the driveway scene, the driveway fight, which was just so powerful. I just felt like that was one of the scenes that I did not do very much. Like I was just like, turn the camera around, good job. And because they just brought it, they just both had it. And something that they both did that I really appreciated was that when they were in the others' coverage, they really brought the same level of intensity and vulnerability. And so they gave it to each other, and I just loved June's warmth, and you just saw her really listening and getting out of her own head for almost the first time in the movie, where she's not thinking about herself. And I just thought that there was such a beautiful connection between them. And my favorite joke of the movie is Asia Bear, who's here, is her reaction to the like, did you? And she's like, what? Like, I just love it so much. It was my favorite moment from the first time I saw like the more than 2-hour assembly edit, and it's still my favorite moment.
Yeah, Asia Bear is here. Where are you?
Yeah, she's right there.
There you are. There's a third sister. There's Mikey.
Meredith, you have talked about utilizing some of the resources of SAG-AFTRA Foundation. So I want you to talk a little bit about that and how you've leveraged that, why other members should be using these resources. Yeah, please share.
Cut me off if I'm rambling. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm like, I guess I just really value value. So I'm like, if I'm a member of this union, I'm paying my dues. I'm going to get everything out of it that I can. And I, look on that website, what else happening? I'm going to go to everything. And especially when I first moved to LA, I'm like, how do I meet people? I need to like start meeting my peers and my colleagues and just getting to know everything that's here and available for me. And I originally was in, through the foundation, it was an accountability group. I'm not sure that this program exists anymore, but it was a really fantastic group that met maybe, I think once a week, once every other week. But it really got us all, we were all doing the actor stuff, the actor business stuff, and also trying to do our own projects. And it really helped me to start to learn how to prioritize things. It was kind of like early producing course in a way without it being producing, how to prioritize what's essential, what has to be done today, what's like long game that's going to take these little steps to get there. And just help me become a better business person, like the CEO of my own, acting business. And now that program doesn't exist, there's still lots of other ones. The wonderful Scott Krinsky teaches a lot of those, and you should definitely go on the website and take some of them, just to help you get yourself organized again, and like as your own business, because we all sort of are, which will help you feel more empowered to do stuff like this when you get the opportunity, even to be a part of a team and to be an asset to that team. Because I know now that I am an asset on set. I know
Yes, you are.
how things run, even if I'm an actor. Like I understand why I got to hit my mark because we only have this much time to get that shot, and how really time is money, that kind of thing. I certainly take advantage of all the casting access stuff that I can. The conservatory stuff that's going on, coming up soon. I think there's some stuff that, again, like I feel like I'm already a part of this. I love the idea of community and becoming as involved as I can in something that I'm already either inherently a part of or like want to be more a part of. And as a dues paying member, I'm like, this is my right. I'm entitled to these things, and they're providing it, especially on the foundation side. I have to say, everybody here is so wonderful and like a real person that you can call up and have a conversation with. Sometimes as a signatory on the other side, having to do the paperwork and stuff like that, it just feels very bureaucratic and challenging that there's not a person on the other side. It's just paper pushing. But the foundation folks are really wonderful and want to help us all to just elevate and to feel more comfortable and grounded and capable, and provide some infrastructure for us to climb up on.
Yeah, absolutely. So our time is running out, but I want each of you to give your one piece of advice to your peers on how they can pursue their passion project, how they can make their own for when you get lost. Give us some words of wisdom. I'm going to start with Michelle.
Something that I think that was magic about this was we started with a script that, yes, I worked to develop, and Jennifer really like took the notes in this amazing way where I would get back a script and she took my notes and it was better. But it started out with something that she had worked so hard on, and she really listens to feedback, which is hard to do. And she had listened to feedback all along. So by the time it even got to me, it already had so much depth and richness and like layers to each of the characters. She thought through the world so much, and like they were just very real to her. And so I think that her voice and her vision really leapt off the page. So I think when we went forward, we had a great script, and that I think is so important, because it's just impossible to make up for when you don't have it.
Well, I just acted, honestly, but because I got to come in kind of in that last piece of the puzzle before we went into production, I got to see these women do and be, and it's so incredible to watch. So I guess my piece of advice is find your people, trust your people. The art that I respect the most inevitably is being made by friends who have known each other, who speak each other's language, and it percolates on the page when you have that in place. So yeah, find your people.
And we've already gone over the work that we've done before, and that sort of got us here. So I'll say my biggest thing, and it has to do with accountability, is I had an accountability writing partner. I still have him. His name is Ben Meyer. And he would just be on me about this script, and he helped me get it done. And then I joined an accountability group with Jules Bruff, where I met Carrie, the other producer, who's the one who taught me that you can make a movie with 6 people or with 10 people. And we had accountability for that. So I would say find someone that's going to help you become accountable and that's going to help you get the train going, because you can talk about, I've talked about this project for, 6 or 7 years. But you need someone to, also April Frame, our cinematographer, when I talked to her about it, then she would call me every few weeks of, when are we doing it? When are we doing it? You need people who are going to help you meet deadlines and get things done, because I've lived here for a very long time. It's easy to let time slip away. So have people who believe in you and keep you accountable.
And I'd say, just make it. Like, just make something. Like, start small with a bite that you feel like you can chew, and just make something. You'll learn so much about what we need to do on set by learning all the different people's, roles and that kind of thing. But also learning how to talk to people about money and get it made. Learning how to do the festival circuit. And when you make something, understand what the purpose of that is. Like a short, you don't make a short to make money. You just don't. People think you're going to sell it. Maybe you're going to sell it for like a few $1,000s. You make a short to take it on the circuit and to meet everybody. And then it's up to you to follow up with everybody for years. And then you make a feature. And then you get to meet people like amazing directors that you want to keep working with when they are working on TV, and you meet DPs and you learn how they think about scenes. And it absolutely informs you as an actor and how you are seeing the scene from the page. So just continuing to make this will make you feel so much more empowered in this industry where we have so little control over what's going to happen in our careers. So this is one of those things that you really can like grab on and do. And I highly recommend. It's not for the faint of heart. So find a project that you love, because you're going to stick with it for like 3 years minimum.
You're going to be married to these people.
Yeah.
And so make sure you can be married to them or be in cars with them for very long periods of time.
Yeah. So make sure you surround yourself with your people who you really get along with, you want to be in the trenches with, because you're going to be there for 3 years. And you can't control the outcome too. So I'm going to say this quickly, is that we are very proud of this movie we made. We won the best comedy at the Austin Film Festival, and we are so thrilled with that. But that did not bring a distribution deal that was worth a damn. It didn't bring what we wanted. We had expectations, and now we're figuring out a path for how we can get this movie out into the world. But even by making it, it's maybe not an if you build it, they will come situation. So we're still at that, like, now it's the graduate level course on distribution. So we're learning that part and trying to figure that out. And one of the things, our biggest dream for the movie right now is that we would get nominated for a Cassavetes Award in the Film Independent Spirit Awards. So that's a big push that we're making. And we're really seeing behind the curtain with how these things are made. And it's a slog. It's still a slog. It's still tough. Money makes the world go round. So all of those things are still true. And we're still learning and just chipping away daily. So with that, I'll also ask if everybody would follow the film on Instagram. We have a run at the Lemley for 2 more days, the Lemley in Santa Monica. We've been there since last Friday. We have tomorrow at 4:20 and Friday at 4:20, Thursday at 4:20. And then we'll be out in the digital world at some point, and we'd love your support, when that comes out, because it's absolutely a grassroots effort, and we need all of those people, who have seen it and liked it, to just like and post and share
and review. If you're a person who writes reviews, especially if you write 5-star reviews, if you like to write those,
5 out of 5.
We love reviews on IMDb, Letterboxd, or Rotten Tomatoes, because we still haven't not been in front of that many eyeballs, so it would be helpful.
It makes a huge difference, really, really.
And tell your friends. And independent film is not sustainable right now with the way that it is going. So we went to our investors, and we can't keep going to our investors, without ever producing anything. So these kinds of films don't continue to get made because it's unsustainable. So please tell your friends so we can make their money back and then make more films and just so
put you in it.
Yeah, hire you
and put you in it. So there's that.
There's always that carrot to dangle, right?
Well, I know the work isn't over, but I hope you ladies get to enjoy some of the love that you're getting. And congratulations again. This was super inspiring, I know, for me, but for everybody watching, for all the peers, for everybody in SAG-AFTRA. So thank you and congratulations.